What's going on, Facebook? And I think I am streaming live inside Facebook right now. Yes, I believe I'm streaming live into Facebook. Yeah. And possibly either in YouTube or the Plant Based Loser community. At any rate, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon to you. For those of you who are watching live, I hope you're having a really, really good day. I am. I'm having a great day. I'm actually about to eat my lunch. I'm going to eat my lunch because, hey, um, this body and your body deserves the kind of nutrition that's going to allow for you to live your dreams, pursue your dreams, and live your life. So often. And if you're on live, say hello. Let's make it interactive. I'm doing something that I don't typically do, but I'm gonna start doing. Oftentimes when I go live, I'm giving a talk and I'm not always interacting with you. But today I decided to just, share some things that were on my mind and also interact with you in case you have any questions. So it's like a live talk slash Q&A. It's impromptu. It's off the cuff. And, when you love what you do and you care about people and you love the subject matter that you speak on and that you've been gifted to speak on, you can go live and share from the heart and also bring some intellect to the conversation because we're all learning. And when we talk about one of the subjects that is part and parcel of my life's work, my why for existence is helping people achieve or attain biological wealth. And for those of you, before I go into sharing some things that are top of mind and sharing something of value to you that is actionable, leave me a comment, say hello, just so I can know that you can hear me and that my audio is crystal clear. So leave a comment, let me know if you can hear me well, because I don't ordinarily use this particular it. Okay, what's up, Harold? What's going on, Harold? Can you hear me well? Give me a thumbs up, or you can simply say yes. And again, for those coming on live right now, welcome, welcome, welcome. I've got some things I want to share. And in case you have any questions, awesome. Thank you, Harold. Thanks for letting me know that you can hear me well. Um, for the past 22 years, I've been serving and helping people through one-on-one personal training, through online nutrition performance coaching. And prior to the online space, I've done one-on-one nutrition performance coaching. And now we have over 80 uh, 80 members who are part of the plant-based loser community. So grateful to have transitioned online. For those of you who may not know me, I once owned a brick and mortar personal training studio, Body of Your Dreams Personal Training, and then I rebranded as Plant Fit Gym. Um, did that for 12 years, and um, the common thread, whether it was me doing public speaking, making several appearances on Charlotte Today, or being on Fox News Rising, or speaking at the Charlotte Chamber of Commerce, or doing one-on-one training with people, one-on-one nutrition performance coaching, or online nutrition performance coaching, there's a common thread to the kind of work that I've done for 22 years professionally, and that is I'm in the business of helping people achieve biological wealth. I am in the business of helping people achieve biological wealth because here in America, there's a lot of thought and intention and emphasis on success. We want to be successful in life, successful in acquiring education, successful in achieving degrees, being successful in becoming a good parent, being successful in our careers, um, finding a sense of significance through these different roles. And success is a great thing. It's important to achieve fulfillment. But one of the areas that in America, in our society, there has not been an emphasis on health success. And that term health success is probably a new term to you. It's a simple term that on a gut level, without me having to define it, you know what I'm referring to, but I'm going to unpack that concept anyway. Health success. In America, there hasn't been an awareness or a consciousness of health success. We want to make a lot of money in this culture. You know, it's a capitalist society, and making money is very important to not just survive, to have food, clothing, and shelter, but to thrive, to live the kind of lifestyle that we deem to be ideal. You know, we want to successfully, many people in our culture, we focus on being fit, you know, exercise, taking care of the body. And so often there's this feedback that we hear that's common when we speak about and phrase and articulate what we want. You hear so many people, especially in my profession, say, I just want to be healthy. I want to be healthy. And everybody has echoed that sentiment, has declared that they want to be healthy. But it so often on a day-to-day basis, you don't see people that declaration showing up in the kinds of meals that they consume. You know, if there's any indicator of whether or not you truly really want to be healthy, it should show up in your meals, the things that you're eating day to day. And so the topic and title of my talk, it's a question actually. Are you eating yourself to death? Are you, yes, I'm speaking to you, are you eating yourself to death? And it's a legitimate question because we live in a society where the number one killer is heart disease. Heart disease is the number one killer of all Americans, regardless of race. You know, one thing cool about heart disease, it does not discriminate. Now, some of you might discriminate, but heart disease doesn't discriminate against you and your family members. So heart disease is the number one killer of Americans. Hypertension, you know, there are risk factors for heart disease, such as hypertension, insulin resistance. Insulin resistance brings about elevated blood glucose or blood sugar. If there's excess sugar or glucose floating around or circulating in your blood, guess what? You're at risk for a heart attack. You're also at risk for not only a cardiovascular event referred to as a heart attack, you're at risk for a cerebrovascular event that I call a brain attack, which medically calls a stroke. So you got cerebrovascular and cardiovascular diseases, and the two prominent ones are strokes and heart attacks. So the question is, are you eating yourself to death? Yes, I'm speaking to you. I'm asking you. It's not a rhetorical question. Are you eating yourself to death? And how do you know whether or not you're eating yourself to death? You can measure that by the meals you consume predominantly day in and day out. What's on your plate? What's on your plate? What are you eating day in and day out? Now, don't get me wrong, I make room for snacks. Some of the snacks I enjoy are popcorn. I enjoy some vegan ice cream on occasion, but it's not even every week nowadays because I I have my six pack back, and I'm more hungry. I have a strong hunger for the six pack. You know, having an abdominal area where I can look at and feel good about when I look in the mirror. When I look at me in the mirror, I like what I see now. And there was a period where I had become overweight, and my max weight was 219 pounds, and there was no aesthetic abdominal muscle structure that I could see. I could see excess abdominal belly fat. I could see inflammation. Well, I could see excess abdominal belly fat. And of course, me knowing what I know and what I have researched, when you see excess abdominal belly fat, there's fat and inflammation intertwined. And I didn't like what I was seeing, and I didn't feel as good as I used to feel when I was not overweight. So for the first time in my life, some years ago, I was up to 219 pounds. I had lost the six pack I was used to seeing. I had a six pack all my life, from being a little kid all the way up to my adult years, throughout my profession. But in 2014, things took a turn for me. Very stressful year. Very, very stressful year. And then being in an unhealthy, toxic relationship, you know, in addition to that, was all part of that stress. So we can go through things in life, and it can cause us to get into what I call the food slavery paradigm, where you're a food addict, where you're addicted to highly processed, sugary, salty, and fatty foods. And the key to being overweight, the key to obesity, is just the key and the consequence of food slavery, being a food addict, dealing with food addiction. Food addiction is really what's behind obesity. Food addiction is what's really behind being overweight and remaining overweight. So I decided that I was no longer going to tolerate remaining overweight. And I decided that I was no longer going to be a food slave. So many Americans are food slaves. So many Americans are addicted to highly processed, sugary, salty, and fatty foods. And they don't even know that their real issue isn't being overweight. Their real issue isn't being obese. Their real issue isn't hypertension. Their real issue isn't type 2 diabetes. Their real issue isn't heart disease. Their real issue isn't abnormal cholesterol levels. Their real issue isn't elevated triglycerides. The real issue is food addiction. You're a food slave. If you have any of those conditions I name, if somebody has a stroke, if somebody has a heart attack, they are or were a food addict. Having addiction to highly processed, sugary, fatty, and salty foods. High animal product consumption. So when I ask you, are you eating yourself to death? That question is a question about your intake, what you consume day to day. Now, how do you know if or whether or not you're eating yourself to death? This is how you know. If most of your meals consist of highly processed foods that are sugary, salty, and fatty, if many of your meals have animal protein or meat. Now, let me clarify what I mean by meat, because some people are under the false conception that poultry isn't meat. Some people are under the false conception that seafood isn't meat. Meat is a reference to animal protein. Now, whether those creatures, those animals swim in the water, fly in the air, or walk on land, I'm referring to animal protein that you cook and consume for food. That's meat, whether it's fish, whether it's shrimp, whether it's crabs, whether it's lobster, whether it's chickens, whether it's turkeys, whether it's cows as beef. All of it is meat. If it's animal protein that you cook and consume, it's meat. M-E-A-T. Did I spell that right? Yeah. M-E-A-T. Meat. All right. Animal protein that's cooked and consumed is meat. So if your diet, according to the USDA, the standard American diet consists of about approximately 54% highly processed foods, 32 to 33% of the standard American diet consists of animal protein, and then about roughly 12% is natural plant-based foods. But actually, in that 12% category, according to the USDA, juice and ketchup fall in that category. So most Americans are really only deriving or getting maybe 5 or 6% of their calories are coming from natural, unprocessed, plant-based foods that are nutrient and fiber dense. So if you're not eating enough nutrient and fiber dense plant-based foods, Metamucil is not going to help you, because the source of fiber is plant-based foods. Plant-based foods are the only source of fiber. There's zero fiber in animal products that you refer to as meat. So I'm just getting warmed up, but I won't be too long because I need to eat. But I have a meal that I'm eating to live. I'm not eating to die. I'm eating to live. All right. So the question is, are you eating yourself to death? So let's get some feedback. I said I want to make this interactive. I want to share some things that were top of mind, but I have a question for you. Let's be honest. Let's be transparent. Are you eating yourself to death? Come on, let's get some feedback. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from those of you who don't want to remain food slaves. I want to hear from those of you who are tired and no longer want to tolerate remaining overweight. Take it from me. I was in shape. I've been in shape all my life, but a few years ago, I was overweight. And for the very first time, I was overweight, weighing 219 pounds. Now I'm 186 pounds. Now I will be packing on some muscle before my 49th birthday in June. So I'll more than likely go up to 190 or 191. But being overweight is not fun. I didn't like it. I didn't like how I felt. I knew my energy wasn't at its peak. My workouts weren't the same. If I bent over to tie my shoe, I could feel the abdominal belly fat. My son was pointing to my belly saying, "Dad, you're fat." I never had anyone in my entire life refer to me as fat. But my little boy at the time, little Shabaka, who just turned 8 on Monday, he told me the truth. And he's a kid. You know, kids don't have a filter. He said, "Dad, your belly is fat." And I was like, wow. Now, no adults would have the audacity to say that to me. But my son told me the truth. And I received it. I didn't get upset. I said, man, this is my little coach right here. He's telling me the truth. And that's not a truth that I wanted to accept. That was not a truth that I wanted to tolerate. So I took a stand. And not only is excess abdominal belly fat a cosmetic issue, because it's not. If you're overweight, you're a man or a woman, and you have excess abdominal belly fat, this is what you need to know. This is what medical science knows about abdominal or excess belly fat. Medical science refers to excess abdominal belly fat as central obesity. Central obesity. So the image of someone obese is typically, traditionally, when we think of obesity, there's an image that comes to mind of someone who may have excess fat in their limbs, their face, all over the body. And of course, that's obesity. But your limbs and legs don't have to be really, really big for you to have central obesity. You just need to have excess abdominal belly fat. If you can take your fingers and grab fat around your abdomen, you have excess abdominal belly fat. But here's what medical science knows about central obesity. Abdominal obesity, excess abdominal belly fat, central obesity is a precursor condition. It's the first condition that opens the way or paves the way for other metabolic syndrome conditions. What are those other metabolic syndrome conditions that come about from the first condition, which is excess abdominal belly fat, which is not just a cosmetic issue? What are metabolic syndrome conditions? Abnormal cholesterol, insulin resistance, which brings about elevated blood glucose levels, elevated triglycerides, and of course that's abnormal cholesterol. In other words, if your LDL, which they would refer to as lousy cholesterol, LDL, is elevated, and your HDL, which they refer in medicine as your healthy cholesterol, if your HDL cholesterol numbers go down and your LDL goes up, you've got heart disease in the works. You've got cardiovascular disease in the works. But the other risk factor for cardiovascular disease and cerebrovascular disease, which would be a stroke, is insulin resistance, which brings about elevated blood glucose. So if you've got excess abdominal belly fat, in addition to abnormal cholesterol or high blood pressure or elevated blood pressure or elevated blood glucose caused by insulin resistance, if you've got any of those elevated numbers in those categories, in addition to abdominal belly fat, you have what's medically referred to as metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome and metabolic syndrome conditions will definitely, these are a cluster of risk factors, and I just named them. The first risk factor condition is excess abdominal belly fat. The other ones are abnormal cholesterol, elevated blood glucose or insulin resistance, elevated blood pressure, known as hypertension. Now, you don't have to have them all. According to medical science, if you have 3 out of 5 risk factors, you, according to the data, are at risk for a stroke, you're at risk for a heart attack, you're at risk for type 2 diabetes, you're even at risk for cancer. So, the question is, are you eating yourself to death? What foods cause Americans to arrive at the cemetery early? We're all going to arrive at the cemetery. That's part of the deal. For having this body, we're not going to have it forever. It's on loan. But you don't have to show up at the cemetery early. I plan on showing up late. Now, based off the way I'm living my life, my intention is to show up very, very late, not early. Now, I want you all to stop doing something. And this might be controversial. This might be debatable, but in my consciousness, it's not. God equipped our biology with the capacity, according to science, what science has discovered, because scientists don't know everything about longevity yet, but they know enough to know about longevity and about genes and about our cells to reveal to us that we have the capacity to live at least to be 120 years or older. Now, since we know that scientifically, and scientists And science doesn't know everything about the human biology yet. But what it does reveal about God's biology is this: we have the potential to live a very, very long life that exceeds 100 years. So I want you to stop saying, when you see a post, when you find out about someone who has died prematurely, stop saying God called that person home. God did not make its biology for premature death. That's like saying that if someone chose with their free will to walk across the street on a red light and they get hit by a car, whether on their first attempt, second, or third, because if you walk out crossing the street on a red light, if not the first time or the second or the third or the fourth, you're eventually going to get hit by a car. It may not happen on the first time you walk across the street on a red light. And when that happens, that person more than likely will, if they don't die, they're going to have some traumatic injury to their biology. But they would probably die. Are you going to say God called them home? Come on. We have free will. So if you're eating foods that are highly processed, if you're eating animal products at most meals and very little natural, organic, nutrient and fiber dense plant-based foods, that's like walking across the street on a daily basis on a red light. You're going to get hit by a car. It's going to cause injury to your biology. So here's the truth. Stop blaming it on God. God's biology was well equipped and is well equipped for us to live a very, very long life. You get to choose by the way you eat day in and day out. So the question is, are you eating yourself to death? Highly processed foods, meals that are predominantly consisting of highly processed foods and animal protein, meat, with very little consumption of nutrient and fiber dense plant-based foods on a daily basis. That's you walking out, crossing the street on a red light. You're going to get hit with a stroke, or you're going to be hit with a heart attack, or you're going to deal with dementia or Alzheimer's, which the leading scientific minds are referring to as type 3 diabetes. And so many African Americans are being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And according to the research, type 2 diabetes is going to surpass heart disease. So look, folks, I'm going to wrap up this talk. Now I'm going to check to see if anybody has any comments. Kids will always tell us the truth. That's right, Gary. Yeah, my son, little Shabaka, told me the truth, and I'm glad because I used that experience to drive me, to motivate me to get back on that fitness throne. But see, exercise by itself, exercise cannot and will not reverse abdominal obesity. You can do all the crunches in the world. You can do some of the most effective workouts in the world. It will not reverse abdominal obesity. How do I know? Because I've got 22 years of professional observation. I've done the research. I've worked with people. Being a personal trainer is like having a laboratory. You get to apply science, exercise science, nutritional science, and you get to observe the results week by week. So let's see, we got a comment here. Okay, what's up, Lalisha McCoy? Doing a complete cellular regenerative cleanse now on day 2 of 20. Give the digestive system and body an oil change. All right now, keep it up, Lalisha. I like that. Yeah, well, I tell you what, I have put folks on a plant-based metabolic weight loss plan that has not only helped people lose 26 pounds in 21 days, 20 pounds in 21 days, 19 pounds in 21 days, 18 pounds in 21 days. It's also responsible for helping at least 6 people to date reverse type 2 diabetes. That's right, I said it. It's responsible for helping at least 6 people reverse type 2 diabetes, and it's helped several people go from abnormal cholesterol levels or elevated triglycerides to lowering their triglyceride count and no longer having elevated or abnormal cholesterol, increasing their HDL levels and lowering their LDL levels. It's also helped several people reverse high blood pressure. Because here's the science. The plant-based eating style, plant-based diet is the one eating style that's been scientifically and clinically proven to not only prevent, but it can arrest and reverse chronic disease conditions like heart disease, and it can reverse high blood pressure, it can reverse type 2 diabetes. And in the case of people with type 1 diabetes, it can eradicate majority of their symptoms. Even people with type 1 diabetes on a nutrient and fiber dense diet, they can eradicate majority of their symptoms. And some people have even arrested and reversed type 1 diabetes. There's a protocol for that. So my point is, you don't have to settle for remaining overweight. You don't have to settle for chronic disease. Are you eating yourself to death? And I have a final message I want to say. God's biology deserves better treatment. I'm going to say it one more time. God's biology deserves better treatment. So look, I've got a lunch that I need to get to because God's biology deserves this treatment. I've got a bean trio. Well, I'm not gonna like show you, because if I show you, then it'll pour out over my computer. It's basically black beans, pinto beans, and black beans, pinto beans, and kidney beans. It's a bean trio. I got it from Whole Foods Market. So since I don't have any questions, I'm going to wrap up. I'm ready to get started. Harold, I'm glad to hear that, Harold. Let me put Harold's comment on screen. And what he's referring to, Harold Carrillo, he's referring to the fact that he enrolled in the Plant-Based Loser Challenge. And I looked at Harold in the eye and I promised him, I said, Harold, over 21 days, provided that you adhere to the plant-based metabolic weight loss plan that I formulated that consists of 3 nutrient and fiber-dense plant-based meals and metabolic smoothie soups and teas, you're going to drop a minimum of 1 pound of fat per day. Now, how can I make that claim? Go on Instagram right now and you'll see about 60 weight loss testimonials. Customers who I don't train, because the Plant-Based Loser Challenge is not a fitness challenge. It's not an exercise challenge. It's a challenge to change your habits. It's a challenge for you to stop eating like you want to show up at the cemetery early. It's a challenge for you to change your habits. It's a challenge for you to adopt a plant-based eating style, but benefit from something proprietary that I've been blessed to formulate from research and revelation. So Harold is about to start my 21-day plant-based weight loss challenge, and he's going to adhere to a plant-based metabolic weight loss plan that consists of, in the first 7 days, a metabolic smoothie soup and tea for inflammation. And he's going to be consuming 3 solid meals that are nutrient and fiber dense. And I'm telling you in advance, Harold, you will not be hungry. You will not be craving sugary, salty, and fatty processed foods. You will not crave meat. Your energy is going to go up. meaning your cells are going to produce more electricity. Your mitochondria is going to produce more light or photons, because what you refer to as energy is light waves. If you feel energetic, it's because your body's producing more light. And that's why you say, I feel lighter. Your skin is going to start to glow even more, Harold. You're going to feel like you're getting younger. So my challenge to you, Harold, give it 100%. Don't half do it. Follow the protocol. Follow the plan at 100% commitment. Consume all 3 solid meals. Consume the metabolic smoothie, soup, and tea daily. And when you do, you're going to see your abdomen, the abdominal belly fat, go down. It's going to shock and amaze you. But I'm promising you, I'm telling you in advance that you're going to drop at least 18 pounds of body fat or more, whether or not you exercise, regardless of whether you exercise or not. Because I have so many people who start the 21-day plant-based weight loss challenge. People like Hakoum Bey, and he wasn't exercising, and he lost 20 pounds in 21 days. And another plant-based loser, customer, Kaya Bey, who was not exercising, and she lost 18 pounds in 21 days with no exercise. So Harold, let me know when you plan on starting. Hopefully it'll be this coming Monday. Yes, let's do it right now, which means you should go shopping by Saturday. Do your meal prep for the smoothie, soup, and tea, and the solid meals on Sunday, so that on Monday can be day number 1. And reach out, Harold, if you have any questions. Of course, I'm here to support you like I do all plant-based loser community members. You're going to do well. Just give it 100%. Thanks for letting me know that you're ready to get started. Let's do it, Harold. You deserve it. God's biology deserves better treatment. You deserve to feel your best. And for all the men over 40, like myself, I'll be 49 in June, and most people don't believe me when I tell them. Thank you, God. I appreciate it. For men over 40, men in their 50s, men in their 60s, stop settling. And this is a message for women too. Stop settling. Because the body that you have right now, if you're overweight right now, that's only one version. It doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to go out that way. So I'm going to challenge you. If you're in an emotional space where you're no longer going to tolerate remaining overweight, I'm going to challenge you to a 21-day plant-based weight loss challenge. Why do I call it plant-based loser? Because you're not only losing excess fat, you're going to lose your food addiction. You're going to lose your cravings for sugary, salty, and fatty processed foods. You're going to lose your high blood pressure. You're going to lose insulin resistance. You're going to lose abnormal cholesterol. And you're going to have a shot at metabolic health, which is what I refer to as health success. I'm going to close out by saying that metabolic health is biological wealth. Metabolic health is biological wealth. You deserve it. God's biology deserves better treatment. And if you want to participate in the 21-day plant-based weight loss challenge, reach out to me. In fact, this is where you can go to learn more about the plant-based loser challenge. This is exactly where you can go. Go here to learn more. And all of you watching right now, you can join Harold. Start this coming Monday. Join Harold in the 21-day plant-based weight loss challenge. Take a stand against food slavery and stop tolerating remaining overweight, because it's not just a cosmetic issue. Fat around the belly, fat around the waist is the fat that kills. Have a wonderful day. I love you. It's time for you to love you, and you deserve to live with your ideal physical version. I'm going to eat my lunch. Have an amazing day. If you have a comment or a question, leave it in the comment section. And if you want to share this informative and inspiring message with others, just share it. Have a great day. I'm out. Talk to you soon.